Welcome to Field Family Farms, and you need to watch this if you struggle with finding healthy, delicious bread options for your family. Let's turn that around with homemade sourdough. Imagine waking up to the smell of freshly baked bread. That's right, we're talking about sourdough. Making your own bread might sound tricky, but trust me, it's easier than you think. First, grab a sourdough starter from your local dealer. It's like a little pet that you'll feed and watch grow. With just flour, water, and a pinch of patience, you'll be on your way to bread heaven. Why sourdough? For starters, it's packed with health benefits, better digestion, improved blood sugar control, and it's kind to your gut. Plus, no more mystery chemicals lurking in your bread, just pure, wholesome ingredients. And let's talk savings. Making your own bread is super budget-friendly, and a few simple ingredients can turn into weeks of delicious loaves. But it's not just about the bread. It's about the community. Share your starter, swap recipes, and bond over baking. You'll be surprised at how many friends you make along the way. So, what are you waiting for? Join the sourdough revolution and start baking your way to better health, big savings, and a stronger community. Happy baking! Before we dive into the mixing and baking, let's talk about creating your own sourdough starter from scratch. It's simpler than you might think and incredibly rewarding. First, grab a clean jar and some whole grain flour. Rye or whole wheat works best. Add an equal amount of filtered water and mix until you have a thick pancake-like batter. Cover the jar loosely with a cloth to keep out dust but allow air to flow. Leave it at room temperature for 24 hours. On day 2, you might see some bubbles forming. That's a good sign. Discard half of the mixture and add fresh flour and water in equal parts. Stir well and cover again. Repeat this feeding process daily for about a week. By day 5 to 7, your starter should be bubbly, have a pleasant tangy smell, and double in size within a few hours of feeding. Congratulations, you've just cultivated a living, breathing sourdough starter. This little jar of goodness can now be used to make delicious, homemade sourdough bread. Remember, maintaining your starter is key. Feed it regularly, and it will reward you with endless batches of wonderful bread. Now that you have your starter, let's move on to the next exciting step, mixing and baking your first loaf. While cultivating your sourdough starter can be a rewarding experience, it's important to know that things can sometimes go wrong. One of the most common issues is mold. Mold can form if your starter isn't taken care of properly. It can appear as fuzzy spots in various colors like white, green, or black. So what should you do if you see mold? First, don't panic. If the mold is just on the surface, you might be able to save your starter. Carefully remove the moldy part with a clean spoon, making sure not to disturb the rest of the starter too much. Transfer the remaining clean starter to a new, sterilized jar. Feed it with fresh flour and water and monitor it closely over the next few days. However, if the mold has penetrated deep into the starter or if it smells off, it's best to discard it and start over. Mold can be harmful and it's not worth the risk. To prevent mold in the future, make sure to feed your starter regularly and store it in a clean jar. Keep it in a cool, dry place away from direct sunlight. A consistent feeding schedule helps maintain a healthy, active starter that's less prone to mold. By taking these precautions, you can ensure that your sourdough starter remains a vibrant, living culture ready to bake delicious bread. Now that we've covered this essential troubleshooting tip, let's move on to the exciting part, mixing and baking your first loaf. Let's dive deeper into the process of making sourdough. First, let's talk about the ingredients you'll need. Besides the starter, you'll need high-quality flour and filtered water. It's important to use the best ingredients to get the best results. Now let's move on to the mixing process. Combine your starter, flour, and water in a large bowl. Mix until you have a sticky dough. Cover the bowl with a damp cloth and let it rest for about 30 minutes. This rest period is called autolyse, and it helps the flour absorb the water. After the autolyse, add salt to the dough and mix it in. Salt is crucial for flavor and for controlling the fermentation process. Now it's time for the bulk fermentation. This is where the magic happens. Let the dough sit at room temperature for several hours, folding it every 30 minutes to develop the gluten. Once the dough has doubled in size, it's ready for shaping. Stay tuned as we move to the final steps of our sourdough journey, where we'll shape, proof, and bake our way to a perfect loaf. Shaping the dough is an art in itself. Turn the dough out onto a lightly floured surface and gently shape it into a round. Let it rest for 10–15 minutes, then shape it again, this time creating surface tension by pulling the dough towards you. Place the shaped dough into a proofing basket or a bowl lined with a floured cloth. Cover it and let it proof in the refrigerator overnight. This slow fermentation will develop the flavor and texture of your bread. The next day, preheat your oven with a Dutch oven inside. When the oven is hot, carefully transfer the dough into the Dutch oven. Score the top with a sharp knife and cover it with the lid. Bake for 20 minutes with the lid on. Then remove the lid and bake for another 20–25 minutes until the crust is golden brown. Let the bread cool completely before slicing. Congratulations, you've just baked your own delicious sourdough bread. Not only is it healthier, but it's also a rewarding experience that connects you to the age-old tradition of bread making. Enjoy every slice. Maintaining your sourdough starter is key to successful baking. Feed your starter regularly with equal parts flour and water. If you're not baking often, you can store it in the refrigerator and feed it once a week. When you're ready to bake, take it out of the fridge and feed it a few times to wake it up. A healthy starter will be bubbly and have a pleasant, tangy smell. If it develops a layer of liquid on top, don't worry. This is called hooch, and it's a sign that your starter is hungry. Just pour it off and feed your starter. Or mix it in. It's not going to hurt your sourdough in any way. It's a natural alcohol, and no, you shouldn't drink it. That can be highly dangerous and not recommended. Taking care of your starter ensures that it remains active and ready to give you the best results every time you bake. It's like having a living, breathing member of your kitchen family. With a little attention and care, your sourdough starter will reward you with endless loaves of delicious homemade bread. Remember, the journey of sourdough baking is as important as the final product. Each time you maintain your starter, you're participating in a tradition that has nourished people for centuries. Happy baking! In conclusion, making your own sourdough bread is a journey worth taking. From the simple ingredients to the health benefits and the sense of community, there's so much to gain. So gather your ingredients, start your starter, and join the sourdough revolution. Happy baking. Thank you for watching with Field Family Farms. Keep in touch for the next homesteading video.